everybody. So I got another video today for you. Today I'm going to try to show you how everything interconnects, and if the universe is infinite, what that actually means for you and I, for basically living entities. So here we go. So the electromagnetic spectrum that we currently know consists of radio waves, microwaves, infrared, light, ultraviolet, X-ray, and gamma. Okay? So basically there's something called string theory. Okay? And string theory is trying to basically congregate everything in to one common belief that basically just consolidates all science into one comprehensive theory. Okay, so today I'm going to basically explain to you how that all ties together and how that all works. Okay, so the thing they haven't accounted for is the beginning of the electromagnetic spectrum is actually magnetic waves. All these waves consist of magnetic waves. Okay? That's basically what pushes everything out. Okay? And before, I believed that the waves of the electromagnetic spectrum, they only oscillated, the frequency they oscillated at was transversely. But now I'm changing that, and I believe that basically the electromagnetic spectrum is basically what Planck thought to be just packets of energy. And the string is basically just photons. Okay? That's all they are. It's just little packets of energy oscillating at different frequencies. At everything from infinity to 0, all the way back up again, and then to infinity, which is gravity waves. Okay? So, like I said, I used to think that they oscillated transversely, the waves within the electromagnetic spectrum, but I no longer believe that anymore. Now I think that they actually oscillate both transversely as well as longitudinally, which means they go out every which direction. Okay? But they're just oscillating at different speeds. Okay? So you have love waves, entropy waves, radio waves, microwaves, infrared, light, ultraviolet, X-ray, and gamma waves. Okay? So if you account for how they're actually they're oscillating at different frequencies, but they're all oscillating transversely and longitudinally, going out every which direction infinitely. Okay? So if you account for that, you can basically just connect these. And they're basically just packets of energy, which are photons. Okay? So let me explain to you, okay, so the dimensions that we live in are length, width, and height. As you can see, this cube is basically length, width, and height. Okay? And the thing that separates the dimensions of space that we live in are the gradius. Okay? The gradius of space. Okay? In Latin, that means steps. Okay? And the gradius are infinite as well. Okay? So that's basically what separates everything. So let me show you a quick little experiment. Okay? So I have a laser here, and hopefully you can see this on the camera, but where I spray this, I don't know if you can see that very well or not. You can see the laser beam and the photons are basically traveling every which direction infinitely. Okay? Except where there's mass, the laser, which is already traveling out infinitely. Okay? Because if I have the spray, I'm spraying it, you can see the photons in every which direction. You can see it from back there, you can see it from up there, you can see it from over there, over here, up here, down here. You can see the photons from every which direction while I'm spraying that spray. Okay? The only place that you can't see it is directly behind the laser, where mass is basically oscillating infinitely. Okay? So it's Newton's law for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. That's basically the same thing with mass. Okay? Or energy, where basically if the photons are moving, the photons can move in every which direction except where mass is already infinitely oscillating. Okay? Because you can see the back of this laser. I mean, you can see this laser from every which direction. I mean, but the actual device that sends out the laser. But the only place you can't see the actual light that's shooting out, the string that's shooting out, is behind the laser. You can see, the string behind it. You can see it in every which direction. Okay? But the issue with it is that the farther away that you get from the laser, the harder that it is to see, because, as those of you know with redshifting and different things like that in science, you have to have a larger space, a larger area to be able to see it. Okay? That's why basically space, instead of being completely white, because if you had a large enough area that you could see enough of space, it would be completely white. Because all you would basically see is the string everywhere, is the light everywhere. It would just be completely white and it wouldn't be dark. Okay? And that's kind of explaining how infinite the universe is. And the photons, whether they be radio or infrared or X-ray, whatever, they're basically just, the string is infinitely everywhere, okay? But to be able to detect it, due to the stretch, you need a larger area to be able to detect it, okay? So, that's kind of basically how that works. So, let's get into electrons, neutrons, and protons, okay? How they are actually formed. Okay, because the universe, you know, is theoretically, you know, in my opinion, it's infinite. Okay, so it's just always been. It's just always been here. Okay, galaxies are not infinite. They have a temporary amount of time that they last, just like trees and plants and human beings and animals. We're all here temporarily, but we're here infinitely. Okay, so I'll get into that a little bit later, but it's a very beautiful thing once you really get into it. Okay, so this is basically how the photons work. Okay, that's basically all the string is photons oscillating at every frequency from nothing to infinity. Okay, so this is how basically atoms are formed. Okay, so you have a black hole and a black hole. And for the most part, dark energy is just magnetic waves. And for the most part, black holes are continuously repelling one another. Okay? That's the magnetic waves. But once in a while, when their north and their south poles meet up, they come together. And bang! Okay? They make a neutron. And then another electron is formed after that from the string. They slam together, bang, and make protons. Okay? So you basically have electrons, protons, and neutrons. Okay? And that's basically how atoms are more or less formed. Okay? And I know this might kind of throw you for a little bit of a loop, but it's how it works. It's the way that that it's explainable, is that electrons actually are black holes. Neutrons actually are planets, moons, and asteroids. And protons actually are stars. Okay? And I know that's hard to wrap your head around, but that's the way to explain it. That's the continuous loop. Okay? Because if you have a loop traveling in infinite directions, what do you have? A sphere. Okay? And that's basically how atoms and more or less galaxies are formed. Okay? So, let's get into, okay, but let me explain that a little bit further. So, after the black hole and the black hole come together, make neutrons, and the neutron and black hole come together, I mean the neutron and electron come together, protons are made, okay? Then everything starts pulling in reverse, okay? So they're all equally magnetically repelling each other and gravitationally pulling each other together, okay? But that's kind of how it works. It works in reverse, where the black hole is pulling in the proton, and the proton is pulling in the neutrons, okay? So, okay. So, let's get into prisms, okay? So prisms are a way that we can determine that the gradiuses of space actually exist, okay? So, with a prism, you're able to see red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, okay? Okay? So, with a prism, you can see with the white light basically shining in, you can see all the colors of the color spectrum. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Okay? So, what does that look like to you? Okay? And some of this stuff you might want to refer to my other videos, okay, which some of my theories have evolved, so it is a little bit conflicting with some of my other videos, but if you watch some of the other videos, you can be like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. To me, I'll tell you what this looks like. This looks like it looks to me like the gradiuses of space. Okay? Because that's basically what the string is. The string is basically everything. It's infinite. It's an infinitely growing piece of string that connects the entire universe. One gigantic, long piece of string that connects the entire universe. Okay? So, the way that it basically works is you have a black hole is basically 0 going up to infinity, which is a proton. And then it starts over all over again. And these are basically black holes. Every corner is a black hole. But in the actual universe, it's more or less shaped like a sphere, going in every which direction. Okay? So those are basically the gradiuses of space. And what's in between the black hole and the proton? Well, us. All of the neutrons. Okay? And that's a good way to think about the gradiuses of space. Okay? The gradiuses of space are everywhere. They're infinite. Every which direction they travel. Okay? With the string. Okay? So, the way that it works with the string is electrons and black holes shoot out love, entropy, and radio waves. Neutrons, which are planets, moons, And asteroids shoot out love, entropy, and radio waves, as well as microwave, infrared, and light waves. Okay? Protons, which are stars, shoot out love, entropy, radio wave, microwave, infrared, light wave, ultraviolet, X-ray, and gamma waves. Okay? Hence, the proton is shooting out infinite waves. Okay? So, let me explain to you exactly how the string more or less connects. Okay? So you have a black hole, you have proton, and a neutron. Okay? So the black hole is sending out magnetic waves and gravity waves. Okay? But the farther away they travel, the more they stretch. Okay? They're all infinite, but they stretch the farther that they travel. Okay? So it gets more difficult to detect them. You need a wider area to be able to detect them. Like, for instance, us with space. Right now, they think that the universe is approximately 13.7 billion years old or something like that. Okay? And the way that they account for that is they basically account for the redshift of different galaxies and different things like that, how far away and how long that they've been moving away from us, and they basically reverse that and account for the Big Bang in that aspect. Okay? But the issue with that is if you are only able to see an area from there to there in a universe that's infinite, you're not going to be able to account for a whole lot. You know what I mean? So that's the biggest issue with that. But anyway, so the black hole is sending out magnetic and gravitational waves in infinite directions. Okay? The proton and the neutrons are doing the same thing. Okay? But the way that they basically connect is that as the let's say the Earth and the Moon, for instance, the Earth is continually pushing out and pulling in the Moon at the same time. Okay, so just basically the Moon is basically traveling along the string around the Earth, and we might not be able to notice it because it's a tiny bit. You know what I mean? I mean the string is everywhere, and you know it's infinitely small and infinitely large. So the Moon is actually getting closer to the Earth. Okay? Everything is getting, within galaxies, is actually getting closer together. And after a long enough amount of time, they'll finally pull together, the string will pull out, and it will go somewhere else in the universe. Okay? And that's basically how the gradiuses of space work. Okay? So, let me get to, okay, so the theory of special relativity is E equals mc squared, okay? So E is energy, m is mass, c is the speed of light squared, okay? So energy is basically magnetic waves. Mass is basically gravitational waves times the speed of light squared. Okay? So, Planck came up with something called Planck's constant, which is 6.626 times 10 to the negative 34th, which is basically just a quantum distance, okay? It's basically accounting for photons, because photons are basically just, like Planck said, they're just packets of energy, okay? So this is basically a way to be able to tell. It's basically really a tiny distance, a tiny length that you can measure the oscillations of a photon, and you can tell at what wavelength the string is traveling. Okay? So the diagram that I showed you before with the electromagnetic spectrum and the magnetic and gravitational waves pulling everything in, that's basically all that Planck's constant is measuring, is the actual energy in the photon. Okay? So how quickly the frequency of it is oscillating. Okay? So basically a way to correlate this, so Planck's quantum theory was E equals Planck's constant times frequency. Okay? So a way to basically correlate this is you can take the string and basically connect it, which is going to make kind of like a loop like that. Then you can twist it, which is going to make an infinity symbol, and then half it, which is going to make basically a perfect loop, which accounts for the speed of light squared, because it's basically traveling from, it's basically traveling around it twice, okay? So that accounts for the speed of light squared, okay? So those are basically how those two correlate among one another, okay? So let me tell you what the significance of everything being infinite is, okay? And it's a really beautiful thing, okay? So the significance of everything being infinite is that you're infinite, I'm infinite, we're all infinite, okay? Our consciousness is infinite, but our mass is limited, okay? So that basically means that you may be very well infinite, an infinite being. You basically travel from galaxy within galaxy or galaxy to galaxy, and you basically your mass is temporary, but you every time that you start back over again at zero before moving up to infinity again and starting back over again at zero, you're a new being. You understand that? So you could say, oh, well, Stephen, if the universe is infinite, you're basically saying that my consciousness, whenever I die, could travel from this galaxy to another galaxy 1,000 centillion light years away instantaneously. How does that work if we all follow the physics of the string? Well, I'll give you a little answer real quick. So, E equals mc squared. Okay? But, if you no longer have mass, which is directly correlated with energy, you no longer have, your consciousness no longer has to follow the physics of the string. Okay? So you could instantaneously arrive in another galaxy, your consciousness, instantaneously. Okay? And, you know, that's very theoretical, but I think that's a very beautiful thing to think of. Okay? Basically, we're all infinite beings, you know? And it's not like you're gonna know anything of this past life whenever you're reborn, you know, but you don't need to. You know what I mean? You don't need to, you know. And some people say, well, I think that I'm owed an answer. You're not owed anything. You're already an infinite being, traveling from galaxy to galaxy across the infinite universe. So, anyway, yeah, that's basically the string in a nutshell. Yeah, I mean, I think I basically explained it all. So, once again, if you would like, you can contribute to my GoFundMe page. It's Magnitis Toys, MAGNITIS Toys, or you can go to magnitistoys.com and buy one of my magnetic toys. I would appreciate it. So, anyway, I appreciate your time. Thank you. Goodbye.